Hello everybody, my name is Mrs. Burse and today we are going to be making kinetic sculptures. Kinetic sculptures are sculptures that actually move. This is a multi-stepped, challenging project, but I can assure you it is a lot of fun and you're going to end up with something that you really enjoy. So I cannot wait to see what you make. And we are going to make something that looks like it's flying. In my instance, I'm making a cat, but you can make whatever you want. You can make a dragon, you can make a flying baseball, you can make a flying gallon of milk, you can make a flying thing of glue, or anything that strikes your imagination. We can make it look like it's flying, okay? Just a few simple rules that'll have to go along with it. What we're gonna need is about 5 sheets of paper, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I rolled one of them up already, so you'll need another one. You absolutely have to have 3. I like to have a couple extras in case I make a mistake or if I want to do some doodles. So you need about 4 or 5 sheets of paper. You're going to need 3 pages of cardstock. It's a stiffer, and we need that so we have the sturdiness of that for the wings and flapping motion. This is parchment. It's just what I had. You will probably have white, and that'll be just wonderful for coloring, which brings me to, you need maybe an assortment of markers. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need something to draw with, a pencil. I would suggest a pencil over a pen so that you can erase, and you're going to need white glue, okay? A glue stick really isn't going to cut it for this. We need the liquid of a white glue. All right, so let's start with the mechanics of how this thing is going to work. Your picture, your subject matter is going to be attached in the middle, and then it's going to have these 2 sticks on the outside that are going to pump up and down to make the wings flap. Okay, and we'll talk about how to make that happen, but we have to make these first. So that's where the white paper comes in. Right? So we start with this white paper. Also, you want to work on a surface that is going to allow you to get a little bit of glue on it and wipe it up. You don't want to work on a surface that's super precious because you are going to get glue on it. When you are using this paper, I take my scissors and I use the back of it and my thumb, and I just curl it a little bit, almost like you're curling ribbon. I do that to get it started because we're going to roll this up and it's going to be tight, and I have a hard time getting this started if I don't roll that like this. Okay? So I get this going, keeping it as tight as I can because I don't want my straws to be fat and clunky. I want them to be really, really tight. Okay? Get this going. And you also want to make sure that they stay even thickness, that it doesn't start getting bigger on one end. If it does, you got to back it up and start over, right? Once we get it like this, we get it, we keep it tight, and we roll, and we roll, and when we get up to this area where we're just at this corner, you're going to take your white glue, okay? And you're going to make a bead of glue, go all the way down, and we'll come all the way down here. This is where we're going to get a little bit messy because you need this glue to go off the edge of this page so that the edge of your straw gets glued down. If you don't take it over the edge of the page, it'll leave gaps where the paper hasn't been glued together. Okay, so now I put my hands back on here. I continue to roll. And I'm leaving a little trail here, and I know that. And if you put this together, it may start squeezing some of the glue out. I know that. That's all right. Okay. I'm all rolled up. I can wipe this off if there's any excess glue on it. Wipe that off. Wipe your table surface up. And you're going to do that 3 times. Okay. That. Mine's stuck together pretty good. It looks pretty good. I think I'm going to take this end that's just a little bit wider. I'm going to cut this You just have to trust what I'm doing here. You're going to need this later, okay? you're going to cut down about, oh, I don't know, ½ inch. I guess that's more like 3/4 to an inch. That's okay. We can trim it if we need to. All right? And you're going to make sure that this folds open. And see how it's kind of, I hope I didn't get off camera when I was cutting it. It's all fanned out. You want half of those papers on one side and half on the other side, but we need to glue them together because we don't want them all floppy like that. Put a little bit of glue there. And we're doing this first so that when we get the rest of the construction done, these are dry and ready to put onto your project. So it feels like we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but we do this first. And this little flap here, we'll get that. Then we'll be ready to continue. You can do this with plastic straws and eliminate this step, but getting something to attach to the plastic straw to attach to the wing top is tricky, and you have to use special kinds of tape, and we're not going to do that. We're going to just use these simple paper that we have at home, the resources that you have. Okay, so we've set that one aside. I have another one that I made earlier, so I have 2 of those. The third one that you have, you are not going to cut like that. You are just going to flatten a little bit, and we don't even have to worry about that right now, okay? So set those aside to dry. We have one more thing to build that we need to set aside to dry, and you will use one of your sheets of cardstock to do this. We don't have a ruler, and that's okay, but we do want this to be kind of a consistent width. So you're going to take one of your markers, and then we trim. There, this is what we're going to make, okay? The important thing that we need to keep in mind is that this piece that we create has to fit over this, and these are going to attach on the bottom, right? And this is what's going to allow us to create this motion, right? So the tube that we're creating right now is what we're using to attach the straws to our main stick. So when we do this, I would take a pencil. And I don't think that my stick is going to be able to go through there. It does, but it gets a little tight. So I think that's too tight. I don't want to worry about that. I'm going to let this unwind a little bit. And then that's better. Right? That's a lot better. Okay, so it's not an exact science. You're going to have to play around with it a little bit. I can do this by just gluing this end. But because there's so much friction against the thing on the inside, I really am going to take this all the way out, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this where I know this is going to stick. So I don't want anything getting hung up on there. And I roll it around to about where I think it was, right? You set it down and it pops apart, you may need to put a little more glue on it. Okay. And set that aside to dry with our other pieces. Okay, so that's kind of some of the tricky stuff. We got that out of the way. Now we are going to work on our design. I got glue on my fingers here. We'll get that off. And like I said, you can draw anything that you want to. However, you need to make sure that the object you're drawing is drawn in profile. Profile is when we see the side view of something. So by making a frontal view, I've made this so that I can't attach the wing. So we have to have what's called a profile. So I have this. Make sure that you draw whatever you're drawing in profile. How about, let's show you. See, draw your design. I'm doing a cat. And I'm keeping it pretty simple. going to be very fragile. So his tail is going to be pretty fragile. Okay, let's give this fella an eye and mouth. Okay. All right, so now I've got this, right? But I need it on the other side because I need two of these. So this is what I wanted you to see, and this is why I'm working on this light table. You can do this on a window, you know, tape your piece up to a window, and when you look through it, you can see very clearly, and you'll have exactly the same image. And that's that. They need to be facing like this so that when they come together, the outsides will be what we're seeing. Okay. So I'm going to cut this down a little bit so that I can get rid of this bigger piece. Okay, so when you've drawn your cat, or possibly after you've colored your cat, when you do this is going to be up to you, but you are going to have to design the wings. Okay? But if you have your profile image and you have your half a sheet, you need to kind of decide how large you want those wings to be. I've got little scraps of paper that I can look at. So you put your paper up there and think, this is where your imagination comes in, right? What do you want that wing to look like? This is what I have. And I think I'd like to see this one too. All right, now I've got all of my pieces. I've got my front and my back. I've got my two wings that are colored inside and out. I've got my flapper sticks with the ends cut and glued, and my center piece, right? And my slider that will slide, oops, on top of there. Good. All right, so we are ready to put this together. So the thing that you're going to start with is assembling the body to the stick, right? The stick has some width to it, and we're going to sandwich it in between here. So we really want to figure out, and you would want to do this in pencil. I'm going to do this in marker so that you can see it. I'm going to come just to the line of the bottom of the belly or whatever your creature is, and then I want to flatten that stick down. I don't want to bend it. Absolutely don't want to bend it there because I don't want my cat falling over, right? But we're going to fold that a little bit, or we're going to crease this way to flatten it, so that it'll go right in between the two layers when we glue these together. Okay? And the other thing that we need to pay attention to, and I know you don't have a grid board, but it sure helps to show you, when you do this, you want the stick to be at a 90-degree angle to the bottom of your piece, whatever it is, whether it's a cat or a dog or a fish. Oops. Okay. I might even move mine forward a little bit here so that it's free of that foot. okay? So that's where that's gonna go. So I take this apart and I put some glue on here. You're gonna need your cloth again so that you can wipe up around the edge. Put your first layer down, glue side up, put your stick in there. I'm not gonna worry too much about it being perfect. Make sure you got enough glue on there so that it'll slide around a little bit. And then you're gonna line this up and glue it to the other side. So as that's drying, we can carefully figure out where we want these to go. And notice how when I lay my wing down, I have the center of the wing lined up with this stick. You don't want it too far back and you don't want it too far forward, okay? Because this other part is going to fasten to the bottom. And it'll be flapping up and down. And it'll be like that. Okay, so you know where you want it. I think I want it right about there. So I don't have to go through all of that again. I'm gonna just mark it. Very lightly, but I marked it. And then I'm going to glue this folded part of the wing. And it's important that this glue goes all the way to the edges. You don't want it sticking out all over the place. You don't want it so gooey that it's oozing all over the place, but you do want it completely covered. You want it to get tacky. And then I'm going to line up to those dots that I put on there. Fold it down and hold it. It's okay if that flops back. I don't need it to be sticking down right now. Da 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 da. There we go. There's one. So here's the kind of fun part. You've got one attached, and you flip this over, and you line this up. Make sure your wing is folded the right direction, your 1/2 inch flap. Right. But because these wings are exactly the same, we don't have to do a lot of guesswork. We line them up. I make my dots. The next part is going to be assembling the flapper. I want this to dry a little bit. If I try and do this immediately, I run the risk of pulling this off. So I'm going to turn the camera off for a minute and let this dry for probably 5 or 10 minutes. Go get yourself a glass of water, go to the bathroom, come back when this is dry, and we'll put this on. All right, so here we are, we're back. This feels drier, that's good. Earlier we cut this so that there were 2 pieces on here, and that's so that it will allow this motion as it folds. Okay. And this needs to be lined up with your center stick, right? So Let's figure out where this is gonna be. I think it needs to go up just a little bit more. Right about there. I think that'll be good. So I don't have to guess, I'm gonna mark it. Hold on to it. Mark it. Because we worked with paper, you're gonna be able to color that. You have to make sure your glue is dry. You don't want to get glue on the ends of your markers. It ruins the markers. So make sure there's no wet glue on there. Right. And this is kind of like the body, how we had to let it dry a little bit. I would maybe let this dry because it's going to have a lot of force on it here. It's exciting, but see, if I work on it too much, it starts to pull away. So I'll do one, and I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. And you can see I've let this dry, and I colored this with my yellow marker and got rid of those little white spots. I want to show you how to put on the other side, okay? We want it to line up with this, so we're going to lay this one down, and then we're going to flip it up and take your other piece. I hope you can see this here. Take this and flip it up, and you want to take this one along the edge of the center stick, slide it up until you see it come in line with the other side. Okay. Hold these together, lay this down. See how this wants to wiggle this way? Make sure it's right straight up and down with the other ones here. It's a little tricky. Okay. And when you get it lined up like that, then you can kind of push that down there and stand that up and mark it just like you did the other side. And now we need to add our slider, attach it to the flapping sticks. And we want these to be the same distance so that when we make these go up, they go up at the same time, right? The same way. So we're gonna put this in here. Let's show this again here. We're gonna put this here. This is gonna be a little tricky. I would put this where you want it, mark your sticks there and here, and on the end. Okay, so take that out. Take your scissors, trim this off so that the ends are the same. And this one is that way, so it's okay. Now, to make it easier to glue these together, you're gonna flatten this, just like you flattened the piece in the middle. Make sure you flatten it the right way. You want the crease or the straight side to be up so that it will glue to the side of this, right? Just like that on one side. Just like that on the other side. Glue those on just like that. I think we may even wrap another piece of paper around there to hold it. So just on one of your pieces of sketch paper, the thin paper, cut a strip, but it'll go around there, maybe even more than once. That's a little ugly. I'll cut that tail off. Okay. So let's put glue on the inside. Hold that in there like a set of chopsticks, right? We don't want to squish this. You know, the desire is to press really hard to get this to stick, but we run the risk of crushing this, and that's why we made this glue strip to go around it.